And that really validated me in the way that I feel like a lot of Black women, queer, femmes, and creatives look for white capitalistic patriarchy imperialism to validate us, is that our effort and hard work will reward us and makes us entitled to a certain outcome or result. And that's just not true. Hi babes, my loves, welcome back to my channel. I am the Lunar Scorpion, aka Wilhelmina Simone, and this is a femme, radical, queer, progressive channel where we talk about the intersections of all the things of culture, philosophy, love, life, and domestical in between. It's been a while, and so if you're back, thank you to my 13 or maybe even like 102 people who will watch this. If it's beyond that, welcome here, and I'm so happy to be here with you, and I honor your time, your presence, and your energy. So we are going to get right into it because this is a response. This is bad bitches can't work regular jobs. And it turns out that I too am a bad bitch that can't work a regular job. Before anything, I want to give gratitude and recognition and a shout out to the OG creator of this. I'll put their video somewhere above, beyond, or beside me. I wanted to just say I loved the video. I loved your beauty, like the actual definition of the word beauty and the message. And it inspired me because, as you may or may not know, I started this YouTube journey 10 plus years ago. Stopped, moved to Hollywood, lived life, all the good stuff, and am now here back on YouTube. And my original promise that I came back to YouTube this year in the big 2026 to make one video a week for the whole year until I'm 30. That was the promise I set to myself. That was the promise I gave myself. But here we are in June, or most likely July, August by the time you're seeing this video. So shout out to me for getting this out in 2026. Yeah. So, shameless plug, if you're like, what is she talking about? Here it is, somewhere above, beside, or beyond me. I was watching this video as I was being a consumer of content, as I usually, fortunately, unfortunately am, and I found this beauty talking about bad bitches can't work regular jobs, and I was like, the algorithm might be onto something. I think something's happening here. So at first I was hesitant to press play, but then I was like, I am a bad bitch. And I have been thinking about, in my last 2 years of unemployment, that regular jobs too aren't for me. And I was like, she's onto something. So I wanted to write a loving response to her and to you about how bad bitches really can't work regular jobs, because how, why, when, could, should, would. No, can't. So first, let me give some context. Let me give some story. Let me give you a prequel. A long story short of my professional journey. I started working at a very young age. I don't know if it's very young in this day and age of, life on earth. However, I started working at 14, 15 years old, my first job being at a yogurt bar called Pure Bliss in nowhere that needs to be mentioned right now. And from there, I had gone to work in catering, waitressing, bartending, house sitting, production, dog walking, babysitting, if I did not mention that already, because children. Artist teaching, remote work, anything that paid the bills, your girl did. I was even a guacamole girl at a white-owned Mexican restaurant in Brooklyn. Yes, that was me. Back in the day, pre-pandemic days, I was probably your guacamole girl or waitress, maybe your hostess. And if you was in Brooklyn, deep in Brooklyn, I was probably your waitress for a night or two at BBQs before I realized that I did not have the strength of a gladiator to carry those drinks and those wings. They were going to be the death of me. I've also had my deal with racist, sexist, homophobic, jealous managers, customers, clients, and pedestrians, bystanders, From office jobs at CBS to my days as a baker at a vegan woman owned bakery in Chelsea. Like, when I tell you the vitriol that I've had experience from people grabbing my hair because they were like, wow, you're so beautiful. Your hair is so curly. And this is when I had an inch of hair. Insert picture of me with less than maybe 2 centimeters of hair that this person was grabbing. They left a $300 tip that night, so I wasn't like too upset, but I did quit waitressing for years after that night. I went to the bathroom and cried in deep ancestral anguish. I've also had moments where I'm working a 9 to 5 as a production assistant, associate producer, where I'm told, make sure you use your nice voice, by blonde hair, blue eyed white woman from, like Kentucky. But nothing compared to the vitriol that I've had in corporate America or in 9 to 5 survival pay to bill jobs. And I also understand the importance of them. There's a reason I was working as a production coordinator, waitress at a cannabis cafe, and producer, PA, Uber on the side. Because late stage capitalism is kicking all of our asses, I'm pretty sure. Comment down below if you're also getting your ass whooped by late stage capitalism. But what we're here to talk about today is actually about how I haven't had a real job, a 9 to 5 salary, hourly, bi-weekly, weekly paying job. And by the time you're seeing this video, 2 years. I know. How have you been paying rent? I haven't. How have you not been evicted? Prayer, the ancestors, God's favorite.
Slay. I know that's right.
And apparently strongest soldier. We're working on that strongest soldier part. I'm definitely God's favorite. I don't know if I'm God's strongest soldier. I'm going to have to look at those terms and conditions when I accepted favorite and when I also accepted strongest soldier. Favorite, strongest soldier, we're gonna have to work on that, God. But that's between me and you. Ashe, amen. From 14 till now, 29. Maybe by the time you're seeing this, 30. Period. Shout out to 30s. I've quit a lot of my jobs. I left, I skedaddled, I skibbity doo bop dee bop day. Moonwalked my way out of jobs that were not for me. When I say that I quit a lot, it was because the managers were tripping. I felt my soul was being squeezed for every ounce of divinity that it had in it. I felt like the reason my ancestors worked so hard and endured and survived so much was being shitted on by working this job. I felt my spirit rebuking the type of corporate work that I was doing. So I quit. There were times I got fired. And, I've had some situations where I quit first, got fired after, got fired first, quit second, depending on the context, the day, the perspective.
No, you're just fired.
What? No, you don't fire me. I quit.
In which we're talking about these things. But it was always at the end of a job when I knew that it no longer served me, when I knew that this was not for the long haul in terms of growth, elevation, evolution, skill, and craft honing, I would lose money. Like if I was waitressing, I would go from making $1,000 a night to $700 a night to $300 a night to $50 a night to nothing for consecutive nights to just like being slowly taken off the schedule. By the end of it, that restaurant would have closed down. And once that happened to me 3, 4, 5 times, I knew God and the ancestors were onto something. Because most of the jobs that I've had, the companies that I've worked for, the agencies that I contributed to, crumbled while I was there or soon after I left. The agency I worked for when I was a coordinator, and it was like creative, nonprofit, corporate type of thing. The owner, CEO hated me and I kind of hated him back. And if we didn't hate each other, we deeply misunderstood each other. At some point, I had to talk to him and I'm like, I think it's generational differences. And I'm like, I had like a tear drop down because I'm like, a mentor had suggested and recommended me to this job. That's how I got it. I was super into it. I would wake up early to prepare for it. I was praying, manifesting, petitioning for work, and I got this job. So I thought it was aligned and meant to be. Turns out it was one of the lessons learned of, what do the people say? Be careful what you pray for. Be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. Yeah, I got it. All right. I wanted to control alt delete myself off this planet because of this job. At so many points, I would wake up crying in desperation. The day I quit, the day I got fired. I haven't seen the lick of them since. I moved to LA about 5 years ago. One of the jobs that I got, which I loved, was as a waitress at a cannabis cafe. We served food, weed, and wine. It was so fun. I was making good money, but apparently not as much money as they were making back in the day when it was more taboo to have a weed cafe restaurant in California. I loved my job there. Insert some pictures here. Insert me in the LA Times at this cafe. Shout out to Sean, who got me hired via Instagram, funny enough. However, after spending 2 years in LA and not going home to see my family and having multiple deaths and losses in my family, I was like, okay, I need to take a month to go home, take care of my mom, who's diagnosed with dementia, take care of my dad, who's like going into his 70s and retiring. And I had told them a month or two in advance that I'd be taking this time off. I had gotten people to cover my shifts. It was nice. It was lovely. The job was going well for what a waitressing job with weed, food, and wine could go. When I approached my time, I think about like a week or two before I was going back to New York to visit for 4 or 5 weeks, they told me to my face, hey, we're slowing down your shifts on the schedule because you're about to go home. And I'm like, well, you don't need to do that. Like, I actually need the money to go home with. So, like, keep the schedule going. And I'll be back and I'll double up on shifts if I need to, especially for whoever's covering. And they were like, no, we're actually going to let you go after these 2 weeks because we're running an establishment here. You can't just, like, go away for a month and come back.
I didn't hear that.
But you already approved this time. You talked about this 8 weeks ago. Longer ago than I'm going for this trip to see my family that I haven't seen in 2 years. At a restaurant that sells weed, wine, and food. I'm serving quesadillas with sativa blunts. I'm serving mashed potatoes with indica dabs. We're loading bongs for people while they're ordering matcha lattes. I think I'll be okay for 4 to 6 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks, knowing that the menu may change a little bit and that I'll be serving the same blunts and spliffs and bongs along with Cabernet, Merlot, or Sauvignon Blanc. I think I'll be okay. And they're like, no, how are we supposed to run a business here? You think these girls are just gonna cover your shifts for more money? Yeah, I do. I really do. So yeah, I was taken off of the schedule once I got to New York and they tried to deny me unemployment, which I had to fight for. Just for them to be vandalized and burnt down on Christmas Eve later that year. Not even a few months later. Someone burnt it down. Knowing how that management worked, owed someone some money, did some things they shouldn't have done. And yeah, that restaurant is still closed to this day 2 years later. And I had always assumed I was the problem. And it turns out that I was being redirected for a path that I was already misaligned on, or that had served its purpose, and I being stubborn and relinquishing and having faith in my creativity, my leadership, competency, and all things surrounding that. The whole reason I moved to California is because I got offered a job in Hollywood working for one of the big streamers and having jobs lined up for myself and being able to sustain myself, save money, live below my means, and find my footing in moving from New York City to LA as the first person in my family to go to college and pursue their dreams and professions. And so when the writers and actors strike happened in, I would say 2023, Yeah, when the writers and actors strike happened in 2023, and I was disillusioned to what Hollywood and what my place is in it and how I feel about myself in it. And when the veil was lifted and I went from making the most money I've ever made to the least amount of money I've ever made, it gave me enough to hold for me to reflect on what I want to do going forward without feeling like these white capitalistic imperial powers that be have control of my income, my worth, my value, and my creativity. And I was left barren for a while. And then that's when I started putting it together. Yeah, I'm not a regular bitch, so I can't do regular things. Political landscape changed, the professional landscape changed, and I am a political science, philosophical, gender theory, radical progressive girly. What am I going to do? And when gigs slowed up and money got slow, that's when I really felt within my heart that I'm like, okay, I have to do my Kickstarter to complete post-production for my feature film that I shot in Europe. I aligned all of that, and through the grace of God and you, community, audience, people, fam, loved ones and all, I was able to raise over $35,000 for post-production for my film. And that's when I knew I had to run with faith, the mustard seed of faith that I had, and go forth with knowing that I had to put my full self into this. Again, YouTube, content creation, writing, personal essays, blogging, and becoming my own source of stability. And I've been winging it and struggling and figuring it out and finding my balance ever since. So let's talk more about that. I wish the video that she created, Bad Bitches Can't Work Regular Jobs, was the first time that I heard this, because it wasn't. It was divinely on time through the algorithm gods that be that I needed to hear this for a third time. First time I knew that I wasn't meant for the regular 9-to-5 corporate American life was in college when, let's see, I was a television, film, radio major, political science, something like that combination that I was going for. I had told the professor, like the head of that department, that I wanted to be like the next Oprah, and he told me to give up my dream. And then by my sophomore year, I had gotten an internship at a really dope production company, and they told me I couldn't do it because then I could drop out of college and go on to have a career in film and TV, and not finish my degree. And they wanted to, make sure that people completed the degree, the pathway, their education that they had started, and they didn't want people to drop out or to find an independent path without completing one thing, which makes sense in the grand scheme of things. But also at the time, my 19-20-year-old self was like, no, you white people are just trying to hold me back. What do you mean I can't do I can't do an internship because I'm not at senior standing? Make it make sense. Which is when I started my YouTube channel 10 years ago, and came back to it all these years since. But that was my first time knowing that bureaucracy and this corporate thing of having to go through certain levels of completing a straight and narrow path to my career, my expression, my path of the legacy I leave in this world is being controlled by like paperwork. White people's paperwork. White man's paperwork.
Why do you need white man paperwork? Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy.
I was pissed. Absolutely not. I wasn't buying it. Second time I heard this was when I was going to therapy at Columbia University through one of their programs, their doctorate programs, with a doctor or head of the department there. Yes, an actual doctor. No Cheyenne Bryant's over here. No shade, no tea. And I was in therapy for 2 years. It was a 2-year therapy program. Towards the end of it, after doing weekly sessions for 24 months, together, going deep, wide, and beyond, from family trauma to education to being a Black queer woman in America to identity crises and reclamation. She looked at me with her Scorpion's perceptive self as like a 6-year-old woman. She goes,
And I'm gonna touch her hand when I say this.
yeah, you're not meant for regular 9-to-5 jobs, and I would not recommend you try to push yourself into that box or paradigm that you don't fit, because you'll be miserable, you'll be depressed, and I don't want to see you in this place again because you try to be someone and something that you're not, even though society in the world calls for it and rewards it. And that really validated me in the way that I feel like a lot of Black women, queer, femmes, and creatives look for white capitalistic patriarchy imperialism to validate us, is that our effort and hard work will reward us and makes us entitled to a certain outcome or result. And that's just not true. This world was not built for us, around us, for us to prosper, thrive, or even contribute directly to in a way that's for the good of humanity, even if we're not here to reap the benefits of it.
Message.
And once I had that conversation with her, it also validated that sense of someone who's in academia, who's in professional spaces, who's also a creative and a free spirit and a progressive radical, that my inner child heard, that was like, thank you. Because my parents always told me I would have to find my own path, and I did not know what they meant by that at 5 years old, 7 years old, 15 years old, 17 years old. Now seeing how my younger brother is like an accountant, you know what I mean? And my older brother is more analytical thinking and more structured and systematic in business as an entrepreneur. So, and here I am, you know, working on a documentary, doing a YouTube channel, writing my essays, working on a memoir, walking dogs and figuring it out all in between. I knew that I had to accept and surrender that I have to take responsibility and ownership of this path, of knowing that I cannot be a bad bitch working a regular job.
Look at the material.
You should be going home
You can
anyway.
be a good judge of it.
Can't, shouldn't, couldn't, not in my divine path and contract. It's just not it. And it's not it for you either. Just like it wasn't it when I saw this video, just like it wasn't it when I was a Girl Scout and someone told me, it's okay, girl, you're creative, you're a visionary. Just like when my parents said you're gonna have to create your own path. Just like when my therapist said you'll be miserable working in the office 9 to 5. It is our responsibility, our devotion and promise to ourselves to figure it out, and we can figure it out together. But that doesn't mean late stage capitalism isn't kicking our asses. I'm not gonna lie to you. I won't lie to you. I won't be fake. I'm gonna keep it 100, keep it a stack, keep it a bean. I have not been paying rent. Shout out to my landlord who's been like, I'm rooting for you to pay me back in full of this 5-digit amount that you owe me, and I'm working on it. Shout out to you. Send prayers. Comment down below how much rent you owe and how do you pay that back. Are you guys claiming bankruptcy? Someone told me I should claim bankruptcy. I also know that social media doesn't equal a job for me. I'm talking Instagram, the Clock app, the Twitter, because I will not call it after the trillionaire evil man who shall not be named in this video. I really only use YouTube and Substack and Medium as my place to connect. So subscribe to my Substack, get on my email list, subscribe to me on YouTube, like, comment, hype, or whatever you guys people do to support the people that you think are cute, smart, cool, or connected to. But since I only use YouTube and Substack and like actual email lists to consume and connect with people, that is where I know I need to deepen my roots, deepen my synapses, deepen my electrical wiring and algorithms for me and for you, for us. Because if it wasn't for YouTube, I wouldn't have found a profession in TV, film, and media, and I wouldn't have gone to Europe to do my documentary. I wouldn't have gotten the jobs that I've gotten because it wasn't school accolades that got me there. It was my experience and being an independent media creator. And it was because of people like you believing in me and believing in myself. So I want to let you know that I believe in me. I love myself. I care about myself. I am worthy. I am deserving. I am competent and I am capable. And so are you. The socio-economic political state of the world is crumbling. The veil is lifted. The empire is in shambles. We have the Orange Apprentice, you're fired, nigga. You're fired. You're fired. As president at 80 some odd months old. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. Gas is $5 a gallon. Things are hard right now. It is not a personal failure because you're not where you think you're supposed to be. It is a societal, systemic, institutional enshittification of where we are. And we need to hold each other with compassion, with patience, with understanding, and with mercy and grace. Please, for yourself, from me to you, to me, together. I am finding stability while on this path to freedom. I won't lie and say that I have the answers. I won't try to shade anyone in what they're doing to get to stability and security and to get the bills paid. I am fighting tooth and nail every day, waking up every day, making a to-do list about how can I move the needle forward. There's days where I feel I've taken 3 steps forward, but when I look at it from where I am today to where I was last year, I feel like I'm 3 miles back. And so we're all on this winding, non-linear path of stability, security, prosperity, abundance, freedom, while dealing with grief, trauma, loss, depression, anxiety. Being Black in America, queer, Black, femme, radical, progressive, insert intersectionality here, poor, disabled, and all the things at different times, at different severities. So I know for me, while I'm on this path of finding balance in the midst of my Saturn return, I've been leaning on community. I've been doing shadow work and mirror work. I've been figuring out how I can take a step back so I can catapult myself forward, whether that's moving back to New York to be in a place where I have more community, more love, more familiarity, now that I've healed and transformed myself as the hermit does and have reflected in my time in LA. Taking the time while I am unemployed, self/unemployed, and looking for work, looking for income to figure out what I really want and don't want as I move into my 30s, as we continue under this fascist regime, as we figure out our way in space in America, if you're still here, if I'm still here by the time you find this, and building my portfolio, building my skills, honing my craft, because there are things they can't take away from us. Writing, storytelling, analyzing, critical thinking, opinions, theories, innovations, our education are all things they can't take away from us. So the clearer I get with that, the more rigor and devotion I put into that, the more results I'll see, whether it's now or later, even if it's not now and it is later. I'm finishing my feature film. I know that's a major key for myself. I know the ancestors, the angels, the spirits, the guides, God, my higher self, you, me, my community want to see that film. Shameless plug here for the Kickstarter if you want to see it and get more involved. But finishing something that I started at 20 years old, now that I'm 29, and being able to do a feature film that is completely independently filmed, fundraised, funded, crowdfunded, edited, sound, all of it together, where everyone on the team is a Black and or femme and or person of color and or independent artist and creative, makes my heart sing, especially with what we're going through right now in television, film, and media. I owe it to myself and the people throughout the 5 countries in Europe that I went to that share their stories, time, presence, energy, and effort to share it with you, and I owe it to myself. So I'm super excited that I can have an independent feature film that's international across 5 different countries and be able to share it with all of you independently. I'm working on getting public assistance and feeling no shame about that, because why do we pay taxes to pay for war, if not to pay for hard times of the citizens that put into this fund. So yes, get your food stamps, get your public assistance, get your rental relief, guys, because we're not going to have Social Security by the time we're 80. We might as well use what we can now, and move towards a more socialist, progressive, radical, commutative, collective society. And one of my favorite quotes to bring some solace into this is Maya Angelou, is that I have faced many defeats, but I am not defeated. And that is what I have felt throughout this journey. And yeah, I'm reaching out and putting myself out there. So shout out to my website that I'll be putting up soon. Shout out to this video that I just recorded and vulnerably put out to talk to you. Hopefully it resonated and came out well. And the horrors persist, but so do I. And I'm still a sweetie pie while doing it. So I hope you're also still a sweetie pie to yourself and that you're loving yourself. I hope that you're taking care of yourself, that you're taking care of the people around you, that you're honoring your time, your creativity, your mind and your spirit during these times of hardship, societal collapse, and beyond, and that you're finding joy and pleasure and happiness in the mundane and small things and steps forward that you take. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here, and let me know if you have any tips, feedbacks, or suggestions for a bad bitch who can't work a regular job. Make sure you check out the original video. Make sure you check out my channel to see what's there if you like it, and let me know if there's anything you want me to expand on, talk about, chill with, vibe with, and yeah, see you next time.
I would say you might encounter many defeats, but you must never be defeated, ever. In fact, it might even be necessary to confront defeat. It might be necessary to get over it, all the way through it, and go on.